Okay, so we're going to do two different types or three different types of unwrapping today. First things first, I'm going to go to Panels, Layouts, and two panes side by side, and I'm going to change this panel to my UV editor, just so you guys can see, whoever's watching, both the UV editor and the object I'm creating. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll start with a cube, and you'll see by default the UV is laid out here. One of the first things you need to make sure of when doing unwrapping is you need to make sure that you are having a clean, uniform scale of each polygon. So in this case I've got 6, 4 around, and then 1 and 2 at the top and bottom. 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 polygons. This goes for any object, whether it's got 1,000 or 10,000. You need to make sure that all the polys are as uniformly scaled as possible. So first things first, you want to assign a new material and hold right click, assign new material, select the Lambert, and under Lambert check the little checker box under Lambert 2. Check the little checker box and go to checker. Now here just press, you'll see the texture display appear here but not on the object. Press 6. That enters shaded display with texture maps. So our texture map is a cube in this case, and you'll see it's nice, cleanly, all uniformly scaled. However, just to quickly explain, if it were not, which can happen when you start making custom extrudes and cuts and stuff to it, here we go. So if I select this corner, you'll notice I get some really odd stretching no matter how I move it. You'll see. So we need to always make sure that we get the best possibility of unwrap possible. So one of the first things we can do, because another thing when unwrapping objects is we want to make the most of this cube here. You see only the texture appearing in this corner. That is because our UVs will have to be in this corner for it to be a clean texture. If we were to have it overlap and be larger, we would do something called like a seamless texture, where it would tile, similar to this checkerboard, but it would tile throughout, and we can use these other boxes to try to help us tile it a little bit more cleanly. But we're not going to worry about tiling for now. We're just going to focus on the UVs in this box. So we want to make the most, because this way the most of this cube here, right in here in our UV texture editor. So one of the first things we can do, the easiest way to unwrap a cube anyway, is to hold spacebar. This brings up your shortcuts, UV, and go to automatic. And you'll see that those cubes actually take up more of the space, because these you'll see that these checkers have actually become smaller, meaning that there's more information, more pixel information we can include in there, and we'll get higher resolution quality textures. So other things we can do to unwrap this, you'll notice that these seams don't line up. So one of the first things we can do is try to just start lining up some seams and creating a seamless kind of shape around it. And I'll just show you how to do it really quickly. We'll get more into that in the next one, but if you were to select these seams and we go to polygons here in the UVs and move and sew edges down here, you'll see that we start to get something that has the seams all good to go, except on these edges, which we'll get to in a moment. But I'm going to undo that. I just wanted to briefly introduce you to moving and sewing edges. Other thing, I want to find some kind of crate texture just to show you guys. And one of the things about that is we want to keep the size at a very large size. So I'm just going to grab this one. This one's by default 1024 by 1024. Okay. The desktop, so I know where to locate it. But one of the things I need to do is I need to select all these UVs. And I want to create something called a UV snapshot. So polygons, UV snapshot, browse, desktop, locate the folder, and one of the things we need to make sure is that we include the extension on it. In this case, I'm going to make it a TGA or a targa.tga. I'm just going to call it uvtest.tga. We need to include the extension in the file name, and because I know my texture is fairly large, 1024 by 1024 is a standard texture size, really commonly used. And make sure you change your image format to targa.tga. And then go ahead and hit OK. So then go ahead and open up Photoshop and open up that file. So here are my UVs, and they match up here as if they were exactly as they are in Photoshop now. And you'll notice when I hover over these faces that they actually highlight which face it is. So in my Photoshop file, I'm going to now open that image that I downloaded, and I'm going to just copy and paste that in here, and then I'm just going to resize it to how I need it to fit in each cube. So I'm just lining it up with my UVs. And I'm just copying and pasting these. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this out. First I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file in case I want to make any changes to it. But I'm also going to save it out as a targa. And I'm going to click off alpha channels. I don't want this box checked. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to change to 32 bits per pixel because I want to retain the highest possible information per texture that I apply to any of my objects. So now back in Maya here, I've got my UVs unwrapped, and I'm going to simply hold right click, and I'm going to assign a new material, and in this case I'll just assign a blend because it'll have many more options for me if I want to later on add a specular map. And just make sure that you go to locate that file. And you'll see the image preview right here. And you can now see that the texture has been applied to my crate. And then, as we went over before, when we added a material, we can bring down some of the things like it's not a it shouldn't look like metal, so we should probably bring down the specularity and eccentricity and reflectivity. And now as we look around, we've got this crate textured. So that's all there is for the crate. We're going to go over some other ways to unwrap things in the next video. So that's on the basics of unwrapping and texturing, and we'll get into some more technical styles next time. Thanks for watching.